Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Clase, este es Senora James. This is for Spanish too. And we have been talking about in Descubre Dos, imperfect versus the preterite. And those of you that go on to Spanish 3, you will be glad that you've learned this. We've been working on that, and I have a study sheet on Google Classroom for you, Safe Waters, and we're going to talk about using the imperfect tense and when to use the preterite tense. So please pay attention and make sure that you keep up with the assignments. And here we go. The preterite, we've been working on since last semester, right? The preterite tense. You need to know the regular preterite, the stem changing preterite, as well as the irregular preterites, right? But the preterite tense, which is a past tense, of course, as you already know that, we have this acronym to help us to know when to use the preterite tense, this past tense. It's for a specific instance. Me llamó 3 veces. He called me or she called me 3 times. It tells you exactly when that action happened in the past. The A of safe is for the action interrupts. So something is going on in the past and then the preterite comes and interrupts it. In this instance, yo trabajaba, there's the imperfect tense, cuando él vino. I was working when he came. Okay, so something was going on, happening in the past, and then the action is interrupted by the preterite, el vino. Okay, irregular, venir in the preterite. Okay, so we have S, A, F is for focus, has a very focused beginning and end. Empezó a llover. Empezó a llover, excuse me. It began to rain. E, enclosed amount of time. Ellos escribieron por más de 2 años. They wrote for more than 2 years. It gives you an amount of time, an enclosed amount of time in the past, and that's why we're using the preterite. We use the preterite for safe reasons, right? The imperfect is another past tense. And the acronym for the imperfect tense is waters. W is for weather. Hacía sol. It was sunny. So if you want to describe the weather in the past, then you want to use the imperfect tense. It comes from hacer, right? The A of waters for using the imperfect is age. Sara tenía 16 años. Sarah was 16 years old. If you want to tell someone's age in the past, then we want to use tener to express ages in the imperfect tense. We use the imperfect tense for telling time in the past. Eran las 12:01. It was 12:01, right? Anytime you want to tell what time it was in the past, you want to use the imperfect tense, not the preterite. Emotions, W-A-T-E for emotion. Nosotros estábamos tristes. We were sad. And notice that sad, because it's more than one person being sad, we have we. It's agreeing. We have the adjective agreeing there with the subject. And this is in the imperfect because being sad is an emotion. Being happy, being joyful, those are emotions. So we use the imperfect to describe emotions in the past. Repetición, repetition. R is for repetition. Siempre usted tomaba la aspirina. You are always taking aspirin, right? Aspirin is one of those vocab words for lección uno, right? We use tomaba, which is the imperfect, because for repeated actions in the past. The trigger word here is always. If you're saying always, then that means it happened more than once, okay? It was happening over and over again, a repeated action in the past. You want to use the imperfect tense. The S of waters for using the imperfect tense is the setting or the description. En el consultorio, el paciente estornudaba porque del virus corona. Okay? So at the doctor's office, which is the title of the lesson 1 lesson in Descubre Dos, being at the doctor's office, the patient was sneezing because of the coronavirus, right? We're using the imperfect here because we're describing the setting. We're describing what was going on in the past. So we're describing what was going on in the past. And so that's why we're using the imperfect here for to sneeze. It's an AR verb. Estornudar. Estornudar. So it's estornudaba, because the patient is the subject. So we have, for the preterite, we're using safe. Acronym. For the imperfect, we're using waters. Safe waters. For the preterite versus the imperfect, it is on las páginas 32 y 33 in Descubre Dos. Not 1, but Descubre Dos. So when you're pulling it up in your textbook, remember, you have to start over, because when you usually open it up, it's already opening up in Descubre 1. We're done with Descubre 1, Descubre Uno. You want to make sure you open up in Descubre Dos, the golden book, the golden color. A few notes I want to mention to you is that there is a quiz tomorrow on the vocabulario. El vocabulario está en la página 52, page 52. And it's a good time to know, being at the doctor's office, in the vocab for that. Fever, anything that you would say at the doctor's office, different complaints you have, tener dolor en la cabeza, alérgicos, allergies, anything, alergias. You will find all of those medical words again in lesson 1 vocab. And for such a time as this, right? So you study your quiz. You'll have to take your quiz tomorrow. It won't take any more than 30 minutes. Make sure that you pay attention to the remind, and that you are doing the assignments that's been on Remind. The Google Classroom, I've just uploaded the Safe Waters acronym. There will be more assignments and worksheets and study sheets that will be uploaded to Google Classroom. And also remember the textbook pages that have been assigned in your textbook. The pages are, you've taken a picture of and you sent it to cjjamesspanish@gmail.com. I want to tell you to be safe and to be saludable, right? Be healthy. Until next time, ciao, adios.